Lack of transparency and unclear regulation may mean South Africans are paying more for electricity and maybe paying way above the standard tariff increases. In a News 24 article, various role players decried lack of transparency, old-fashioned billing methods and unregulated additions by body corporates in suburbs and as well as in complexes. Now also, while vendors are not allowed to charge a tariff beyond what is set by the municipalities, they are allowed to charge a service fee which can be as high as 15%. Joining us now to make sense of the rather costly state of affairs is Johan, Hopley, President of Electricity Resellers Association of South Africa. Johan, good evening. Good to have you with us tonight here on In Focus. Tell me a little bit more about your members, the resellers. What do they do?
Good evening. Yes, thank you for this opportunity. So the Electricity Resellers Association was started 15 years ago by a group of utility management companies, or resellers as somebody called us, is to regulate the industry. So we have a code of conduct which our members are by to use, and in that we have fair play for the electricity industry. We've been fighting for regulation of the industry with the energy regulator for many years, and municipalities, and I have attended a lot of workshops over the last 12 years, getting this whole industry to a place where it's fair play for all of it, and the end consumer does not pay extra to have a service provider to manage his electricity.
Yeah. Here's an answer from the regulator, a regulator member primarily responsible for electricity regulation, when asked around this question of tariff. He says resellers are not licensed. People who are licensed are distributors. Is that the case?
That's correct, yes. So the municipality under which the reseller falls is licensed at the National Energy Regulator, and they've got to abide to the electricity pricing policy, the Electricity Act, which has been revised, and also the NRS specification documents that has been out for many years. So everybody has to conform in that. And NASA took the first step in publishing a document in guidelines for reselling of electricity. So that was the very first step when NASA started acknowledging the reselling industry, and they've sent out a document which was compiled over years of information gathered in the guidelines of reselling.
So is the regulator then able to assess the agreements, bilateral agreements between your members, the resellers or utilities guys, and the distributors, this time I suppose being municipalities or Eskom itself?
What we have gathered over the years is that NARSA said that guideline or the regulations, the registration processes should be managed by the licensee, which is the municipality where the reseller operates within. Many years ago, NASA opted the municipalities to develop bulk tariff for resellers so that they can operate, do their business within the legislation and also within the bylaws. So that has been passed to the municipalities. Unfortunately, municipalities, City of Tshwane started with a registration process. We drove that process because we want to be registered, we want to be regulated. We want to see everybody see that what is the value that we play in the municipalities regarding revenue collection, metering, the knowledge that we have in tariffs that we built up over the years. We've attended many of the AMEU functions and yearly functions that were held specifically to tackle how does the reselling work, because we have taken over that vital responsibility of municipalities in collecting revenue, and we are doing it for them on their behalf, and they need just to have a bulk tariff that we can have a space to operate and charge the same rates as what the municipality would have charged the end consumer.
So in terms of the role that you play, consumers feel the role that you play currently is not really transparent. In fact, there's a sense that you are ripping them off in that you're adding additional fees to electricity that otherwise they would have gotten at a cheaper price. And certainly the feeling from consumers is that you are a law unto your own self.
You see, the thing with reselling is there's two parts of it. You have the one side, which is the vendor, which is the council or the municipality has brought in a bylaw or a credit control act that says that an owner has to sign up for an account for utilities. A tenant cannot sign up anymore. So what has happened is there was this vendor revenue generated through owners that are saying, I want a tenant in my house, but I don't want to sit with the utility bill. So they get a vendor to install a meter for them. They determine a tariff, and that tariff is then paid by the resident, so that the owner, at the end of the day, does not sit with a municipal bill that is run up over hundreds of thousands of rands that he is liable to pay. So that is where the whole vendor role started in electricity, where it's only by placing a meter and channeling revenue. And that is where the whole outcry came from. Not really the resellers, because the resellers has been operating for many years, and we have negotiated with municipalities a bulk rate where we can buy at a bulk rate and resell at the same rate as what the municipality would have sold on. This whole thing started where the popularity of vendors came in, where people had the need for revenue to be managed, that they don't sit at the end of the day with a massive municipal bill because of council not doing credit control on these units.
So, sure, okay. So what is a vendor then, as compared to a reseller? What's the difference?
So the difference between a vendor and a reseller is a reseller is somebody that places a meter for collecting, either being postpaid or a prepaid meter. They manage that account on behalf of the landlord or the body corporate, and they are responsible for paying the municipality. So the municipality will have a bulk meter, which all the electricity and water that goes through is now billed to an entity, and the internal infrastructure has to be maintained, the meters have to be installed, they have to be read, the billing has to be done, the collections and the risk in collecting. So when the municipality places that bulk meter, they have got one meter, one account, and they are guaranteed of their money, because behind that bulk meter could be anything between 20 and 1,000 consumers. Now that reseller has to make sure that the tariffs that are charged are correct, the money that is collected is paid to council, to ensure that that body corporate or building owner has got electricity for his other tenants. Then it goes one step further. We also provide customer service, so high account queries, prepaid support, replacing of meters. That is everything that a reseller does. And it's taking over that job of the municipality and making sure that the electricity revenue is collected. Now, when a vendor comes in, that is somebody that has a vending system. He has a supply group code registered with the STS Association at Eskom. And he has a billing system that if you use his meter in your house, any revenue that comes from the revenue streams like CGCell, EasyPay, and all of those places gets paid to him. And he in turn pays it to whoever registers the meter, if it's now the body corporate or if it's the landlord. So the only function he is collecting the revenue through the meter and paying it to somebody. He does not do any of the maintenance. The tariff gets told to him by whoever owns the meter. So the owner can determine what is the tenant going to be charged. And that is something that's got to be tracked to the end consumer. If you're going to just pay anything else except what is regulated or approved by NERSA and council, there has to be a transparent agreement to say that if you're going to be moving into this house, A, this is what you're going to be expected to pay for electricity, and B, this is the vending fee. Because vending fees is a competitive market. But if your owner decides of your house, you're going to be paying that vending fee, it can be anything. And that is where the risk comes in.
What does the regulation say then around what the vendors can charge as vending fees or administration fees, for lack of a better word?
So currently the vending fee is not regulated because it's an industry that is operating between a building owner, body corporate, or an owner of a property. So they can determine the vending fee from the service provider that provides a service. You get service providers that charges below 10%, which I feel is a cost-reflective giving through to the end consumer, because unfortunately with having all of the vending pay channels, there is a cost that it occurs to get the money back to the meter owner. So where you sell electricity at the garage that sells electricity gets a portion of the revenue collected. Then it gets paid over to CG Cell, where the CG Cell or the Easy Pay company pay it over to the vending system owner. And that's got to then be transferred to the municipality or to the owner of the property.
Now, in as far as then the situation that you mentioned earlier, you are able to take advantage of your bulk buying and therefore be able to get it at a particular price and then sell it to the end consumer at the same price that they would have otherwise paid directly from Eskom. What will it take then to be able to get the vendors to take advantage of the same bulk buying tariff so that this could in turn be absorbed then through that process so that the end consumer still pays the exact same amount that they would have paid at Eskom?
Unfortunately, on a single single account, like a single household, the council will not provide you with bulk tariff because they have the same cost in providing that service to the end consumer. So we always call it the last mile. So on domestic complexes and shopping centers, the council supplies electricity to a certain point outside the property. From there on, the infrastructure is owned and maintained by the landlord or the body corporate. So the metering company has to maintain the meters, the infrastructure, all of that behind that metering point. So they will not be able to give a single house a bulk tariff because of they are supplying the electricity to the end point, where in a complex they supply it to a bulk point.
So then, in other words, the vendors will always be charging a tariff based on that, so it will always be higher. And how then do you ensure transparency? Because one of the issues that come up, for example, is that, yeah, well, I paid electricity for 100 rands, and my friend also paid electricity for 100 rands, but they got more units than I did. And how does that work?
So the only way that the industry will be regulated as far as that is per the agreement as the Consumer Protection Act prescribes. That when you move into a place, this is what you're going to be paying. That fee should be looked at and say that let's look at a competitive fee in the sense of what it is cost reflective wise. And the owners of property should also take the responsibility of making sure that they're giving their tenant that is renting the place from the best deal possible. And that is why the vending fee is so open that you get companies that charges 10, you get that charges up to 15%. And surely in the industries that we are, competitive and service is key. So if you have a body corporate that charges 15 and they can have the same service and you pay 10%, you should move. But in a single dwelling, that tenant does not have the choice because he's renting from the owner that has decided who he's using for that service.
All right, Johan, appreciate your time. Thank you very much for helping us in that conversation. Clearly a lot still that would need to be cleared there, and the conversation would need to be a little bit broader as well. Hopefully we'll be able to bring Johan back in to assist us in that conversation. He is, of course, with the Electricity Resellers Association of South Africa. He's the president there.